Okay, so welcome to the first notes of the third quarter. And this one is just going to be on area and perimeter of rectangles. I know that I'm sure you've learned this before, but a little refresher never hurts, and there might be a few things in here that you've never seen before. So we will go through it. So first of all, you can see at the bottom here on the slide that you don't have to memorize any formulas. All the formulas for everything will be given to you, so you don't have to worry about that. But the formula for the area of a rectangle is very simply length times width. And I have it labeled here that the length is the longer side and the width is the shorter side, but really it doesn't matter. You could switch those. You could call this one the width and that one the length, and it wouldn't matter. So we're just multiplying them together. Now we know perimeter is adding up the outside, so that would be all four. So you could think of it as having two lengths and then adding the two widths, or you can very simply add up all four. But it's just adding up all four sides. So this first problem here, very simple. Finding the area and perimeter of the rectangle. The measurements are already there for us. So for the area, we would just multiply them. And when you multiply them, you get 189.54. Now, everything here in this section, all of our final answers, no matter if you're finding area and perimeter or if it's rectangles or triangles or whatever, we're always going to round to one decimal place for our final answer. So we're just going to write down 189.5, and then we have to include units. And if you remember, units for area are always squared. And where that comes from is, think of this 11.7, that's millimeters. And this 16.2, that's also millimeters. So when you multiply something by itself, that means millimeters squared. So millimeters times millimeters is millimeters squared. Just like if you had x. If this was x times x, then you would get x squared. It works the same way. So our area units are always squared. For perimeter, again, you can think of it as being two 11.7s and two 16.2s, or you can just add them all up. And when you add up all four of those, you get 55.8. So this is going to be 55.8. I don't need to round. And that's just millimeters. That one is not squared. Okay, same way that we were multiplying here, if you think about this as just being adding, we're just adding all these up. Or if they were x's, x plus x plus x plus x would be 4x. It's not going to be x squared, it's still just going to be x. So perimeter is just normal units, area is the ones that are squared. So, if you have fractions, we're going to turn them into decimals. And the way to do that is, if I look at this fraction, I'm going to keep the 19 as my whole number, but now I can just take 1 divided by 4 in my calculator, and that will turn it into 0.25. It'll stay centimeters, but I just divided 1 divided by 4. I can do the same thing over here, 4 divided by 5, and that makes it 4.8. And then you can multiply them to get your area, which is going to be 92.4. And don't forget your units. And then I can add up all four sides to get 48.1. Now, on this test, sometimes you're going to have to find your own measurements. They won't be given to you, but we're always going to do this in centimeters, because usually centimeters are a little bit easier since we can use decimals. So, when you measure this with a ruler, you would get that the long side is about 5, and the short side is about 2.9. Now, you do get a little bit of leeway here. I know there's human error to consider, so on each side, you're always going to get a 0.1 centimeter leeway. So for this one down here, if you had 2.8, 2.9, or 3.0, that's good. With the 5, you would get 4.9, 5, or 5.1. All of those would be good. But those are our two measurements. So again, we're just going to multiply to get our area, which would be 14.5. centimeters squared. And then our perimeter, if we add them all up, you get 15.8 centimeters. Now, sometimes you're not going to get a picture. On the last one, we didn't get any dimensions. You had to find them yourself. And on this one, there's no picture. But this over here, this means 5 feet by 9.5 feet. So that little 1 apostrophe there means feet. So if you wanted to draw your triangle or rectangle, you could. The long side would be 9.5 feet, and the short side would be 5 feet. And then again, you would multiply them together to get 47.5 for your area, and that's square feet. And then you could add them all up to get your perimeter is, oh wait, that's not right. Oh yeah, it is 47.5, and then your perimeter is 29 feet. Now, on this one, you notice there are 2 little apostrophes, 2 little marks there instead of just 1. If there are 2, then that means inches. So again, if you wanted to draw your rectangle, you could. The long side would be 24 inches, and the short side is 11 inches. And again, you would multiply them to get your area of 264. Don't forget units. And your perimeter would be 70. So 1 little mark is feet, 2 little marks are inches, and again, the way you would read this is 11 inches by 24 inches. That little X just means by. Okay, and the last slide here deals with some converting of units. I can see that they give me my answer in inches, or not my answer, they give me my length in inches, but my answer needs to be in feet. So how do we do that? Well, 12 inches is equal to 1 foot. So if I am going from inches to feet, I'm going to divide both of these by 12. So 88 divided by 12 is 7.3 repeating, and that's going to be feet. And 40 divided by 12 is 3.3 repeating feet. And so now when I multiply them together, that'll give me 24.4 square feet for my area. When you add them all up, you get 21.3 feet for your perimeter, and that's rounding to 1 decimal place. But when you go to enter this into your calculator, don't just put in 7.3. Remember that repeating means that that 3 is going to go on forever. So I would put at least 4 or 5 in there when you plug it into your calculator to make sure you're getting as close to the correct answer as possible. Okay, so when you're finding area and perimeter of rectangles, you're either just multiplying the length times width to get area, or adding up all 4 sides to get the rectangle, and then also worrying about measuring with a ruler and converting units and all of that. If you have any questions on this, or you're not sure still how to do something, you can rewatch the video. You can look at the completed notes that are on Google Classroom, or you can ask me and I can clarify anything on here. All right.